When no contact began, everyone assumed the avoidant felt relief. I assumed it too. Silence looks like freedom from the outside, like finally escaping demands and expectations. But kindness taught me to look closer. What avoidants actually go through during no contact is not peace, at least not at first. It is a strange, echoing quiet where emotions knock without permission. They don't rush toward the pain like others do. They don't cry into pillows or send long messages they later regret. Instead, they keep moving, cleaning, working, distracting, convincing themselves that space is strength. Yet under that motion, something tender begins to stir. Avoidants are trained by life to survive alone. Somewhere early, closeness taught them that love costs too much. So when no contact starts, their first instinct is to tighten their emotional seatbelt. They tell themselves they are fine. They make lists. They organize drawers. They replay old conversations, not to feel, but to analyze. Kindness reveals that this analysis is armor. If they can understand everything logically, maybe they won't have to feel the ache blooming quietly in their chest. Days pass, and the absence grows heavier. The avoidant notices small things they didn't expect to miss. The way someone said their name. The familiar irritation that oddly brought comfort. They feel confused by these moments because missing someone feels like weakness to them. They were taught that needing is dangerous. So instead of naming the longing, they feel restless. Sleep becomes lighter. Music sounds different. They scroll longer, hoping to numb the soft pull of memory. What surprised me most was how guilt enters the picture. Avoidants often believe they are the problem, but only in secret. During no contact, they replay moments where they pulled away, shut down, or chose silence over honesty. They don't do this to punish themselves openly. They do it quietly, late at night, telling themselves it's just reflection. Kindness sees that it is remorse without language. They wish they had known how to stay without losing themselves. They also feel fear, though they rarely name it. No contact removes the option of control. Avoidants like knowing they could reach out if needed, even if they never plan to. When that door feels closed, anxiety creeps in. Not the loud kind, but a low hum that asks, what if I actually lost them? This question terrifies them more than heartbreak, because it proves attachment existed. And attachment, to an avoidant, means vulnerability. Yet kindness shows that growth begins here. In the silence, they start noticing their own patterns. Why did closeness feel suffocating? Why did reassurance feel irritating instead of comforting? These questions don't have quick answers. Avoidants sit with them awkwardly, often wanting to run. Sometimes they almost break no contact, typing messages they never send. Not because they want to reconcile immediately, but because they want the discomfort to stop. What no one sees is that avoidants are not cold. They are overwhelmed. During no contact, emotions come unfiltered, without the usual exits. They feel sadness without knowing what to do with it. They feel love without a strategy to manage it. Kindness means understanding that this internal chaos is exhausting for them. They are learning, slowly, that distance does not erase attachment. It only reveals it. By the end of the first phase of no contact, something subtle shifts. The avoidant begins to realize that the silence did not destroy them. Feeling did not annihilate them either. This realization is small, fragile, but powerful. It plants a quiet seed. Maybe closeness is not the enemy. Maybe the real work is learning how to stay. Part 2. As no contact continues, the avoidant enters a deeper, more honest stage. The initial defenses weaken, not dramatically, but gently, like a guard lowering their weapon after a long watch. They begin to feel emotions in waves instead of flashes. Sadness lingers longer. Regret becomes clearer. Kindness helps us see that this stage is not about missing the other person alone, but about meeting parts of themselves they kept locked away. Avoidants often discover loneliness here, not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that comes from emotional isolation. They realize how often they relied on independence to avoid being seen. During no contact, there is no one to perform strength for. No one to impress with composure. This can feel terrifying, but also relieving. They start noticing how much energy it took to stay distant. Memories soften during this time. Instead of replaying conflicts, they remember warmth, shared jokes, quiet moments. These memories don't stab as sharply anymore, they ache. Kindness recognizes that aching is progress. It means the avoidant is allowing tenderness without immediately shutting it down. Sometimes this tenderness brings tears they don't fully understand. They may cry without a clear reason, surprised by their own emotion. Another surprising discovery is empathy. Avoidants begin to imagine what the other person might have felt during the relationship. They consider moments where silence may have hurt, where withdrawal may have felt like rejection. This is painful, because it challenges their self-image as someone who was simply protecting themselves. Kindness means holding this realization without judgment. They did what they knew how to do. Now they are learning more. During this stage, the urge to reach out often peaks. Not to fix everything, but to soothe the discomfort of growth. Avoidants may draft messages apologizing, explaining, or minimizing. Sometimes they don't send them because they finally understand that contact should come from clarity, not fear. This restraint is not indifference. It is a sign of emerging emotional responsibility. They also confront a quiet grief, the loss of who they were in that relationship. Avoidants often shape themselves around autonomy. Losing a connection forces them to question who they are when they allow someone close. This identity shift is unsettling. They wonder if they can be both independent and connected. Kindness answers gently that they can, but it takes practice. What no contact teaches avoidance, when kindness is present, is that feelings are not emergencies. They rise and fall. They can be survived. This lesson is revolutionary for someone who learned early that emotions lead to chaos. Slowly, they build tolerance. They sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. They reflect instead of reacting. This is quiet work, invisible to the outside world. By the later stages of no contact, avoidants often feel a calm sadness mixed with respect. Respect for the connection that mattered. Respect for themselves for facing what they once avoided. Whether or not reconciliation happens, something has changed. They are no longer running blindly. They are aware. The most surprising discovery is that no contact, when understood through kindness, is not punishment for avoidance. It is a mirror. It shows them their fears, their capacity for love, and their potential for growth. They may not speak about this transformation. They may not announce it. But inside, a shift has occurred. Kindness reminds us that avoidants are not villains in silence. They are learners. And during no contact, they are quietly, bravely learning how to feel without disappearing.